So, hello, we're here with Janet today. And Janet, we're going to jump right in. I like to keep these videos short, about 30 minutes or so. So, if you could just introduce yourself a bit about your background, what it is that you do, and then how you got to doing what it is that you do.
Yeah, I'm Janet Key, and I am a financial abundance coach. Prosperous Woman is the name of my business. And how did I get here? I have a background as a yoga teacher for over 15 years, and I've been in the financial industry for 5 years. And goodness, I started on a journey of knowing myself, knowing my truth at the age of 25 when I was searching for happiness. And coming into dealing with money, I deal with the emotional aspects of money and the physical management. I feel that we have so many emotional triggers in money. It has a lot to teach us about who we are and moving into alignment with who we are and our higher self. So my background is yoga and knowing my truth and coming into the truths around money and what that has to teach us.
Hmm.
It's all connected, and it's so interesting, the dynamics of it. So I work in the realm of money on a physical and spiritual and emotional level.
Hmm. Amazing. It's very, very intriguing. I have so many questions. I'm trying to think about where to start. Okay. Um, Okay, so if we just start at, let's say, the beginning or the earliest thing that you mentioned, 25 searching for happiness yoga. Can you
Yeah,
talk me through that a bit, like how that started and why you suddenly search for happiness? Like what happened?
yeah, yeah. Um, you know what? From a little girl, I had a desire for happiness. It was like that was the first thing that I had a strong desire for. And I remember it so clearly. And I remember like praying about it. And I didn't grow up in a religious background by any means, but I prayed to something to bring me happiness. And I grew up, my mom was 17 when she had me. My dad, at a young age, was diagnosed with manic depressive and schizophrenia.
Wow.
He was very abusive to my mom and in our family. And I spent a lot of my life with him in and out of mental institutions. And as a young girl growing up, I looked for love in all the wrong places because I wasn't loved. And I had, you know, a part of my story was I hated my life, and I didn't love myself, right? And at the age of 25, when I sat in a therapist's office, and I did counseling like all throughout my high school years. And in that therapist's office that day was a pivotal moment. And I said, I want to be happy. And she said, to be happy, you need to live your truth. And I'm like, to live my truth? Like what? Like
What does
that
that
sounded
mean?
easy, but I'm like, at the same time, I knew that could be hard, but it just spoke so clearly to me. And from that moment onward, I started to practice living my truth and going within. And I had journaled for years. Yoga, then teachers came into my life, right? Yoga came into my life. Horses came into my life. Books on personal development and self growth came into my life, and it opened up my world, to understanding like who I am. And certain healers came into my life, and I had no idea about energy work. Like I was a girl from a small town from Newfoundland. I had no idea about energy, but I went through these different healings, and what I started to discover was the experiences that happened to me in life were experiences, and they weren't my fault. And I misunderstood that there was something wrong with me and that I wasn't enough. And as I started to understand the people around me, my parents, my grandparents, and the boys, or the abuses and things that happened to me, I began to understand that those were experiences to teach me lessons, and I can understand the people's role in it, and then apply. With understanding came, I was able to find forgiveness. With forgiveness, open the door for love, self-love. Like, more importantly, I started to see that like there was nothing wrong with me. there was nothing wrong with me and that I was lovable. And it started to open the door to love myself. So, that was a journey. And, it's interesting, like, for me, it's like timeline. So 25, and at the age of 35, I remember arriving to a place within myself feeling whole and feeling like complete, like I healed. I healed so many wounds, and I was more confident in my truth and who I am. And I went from this shy, insecure girl to now a confident woman. And then, from there, a few years prior to 35, I started teaching yoga. So really, things really started to evolve when I started to teach what was moving through me to inspiring others. So, that's the journey of that, which was,
That's amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so I have two questions based on what you just said now. One, she said, live in your truth.
Mhm.
So what did that, like, live in your truth? That sounds so ambiguous or vague to someone
Mm.
that isn't living in their truth, you know? So
Yeah.
what did that do for you? What did that mean to you? Or what does it mean to you today?
Yeah.
Living your truth.
Oh, it's so your truth is like, what is that? It's like being connected to your intuition. Your intuition is connected to the higher self. The, your higher self, the universe, God, that soul that wants to work through you, serve through you. And knowing your self is like, what is right for you? What is that voice speaking through you that wants of you? Like, we hear, like, when you start to hear it and listen to it, like, something speaking to you. And oftentimes our fears or our walls or our limitations or our beliefs stops us from living our truth, right? We need approval from somebody else, or we value someone else's opinion more than ourselves. We don't respect or honor ourselves and listen to that. But if we start taking action and listening to that voice, what it wants, that starts to open up to our truth.
Yeah, no, 100%. Sorry, things keep I'm pregnant, so I'm like my head's not, not functioning as it usually
Yeah,
does.
that's
Um
okay.
I think Dr. Gabor Mate, I think it's similar when he discusses authenticity.
Mm,
Um like your authentic self, like your authentic
yeah.
being, and what it is that's right for you, and tuning into that. And I think it's something that we really are also conditioned not to do from childhood. I mean, I can attest that for me, I experienced being told that what I feel isn't
Mhm.
true. I remember as a young teen going to my parents and saying, I feel like something's wrong with me, like I'm depressed, something's not right, and they're like, "Oh, you're fine, don't worry about it." So
Yeah.
it was just one kind of, I remember that. I really remember like feeling what it is that I'm feeling. I need to ignore. I need to like,
Mhm.
that it's not true. And I really do think that many of us are taught to not listen to our
Mhm.
inner voices,
Yeah.
especially people that are raised with people pleasing kind of
Yeah.
conditioning as well. It matters what other people think, and keeping other people happy, and not meeting your own needs. How can you meet other people's needs? Um, you also, the second question that I had was, you mentioned healers came into your life.
Mhm.
Could you say what kind of healers, like
Yeah.
what kind of
Yeah.
healing did you do experience?
Absolutely. So I met a couple of different people came into my life. One lady worked in the realm of Rohan therapy, which is a type of energy work, and I couldn't even tell you, like, more. Uh, Energy work like Reiki, a shaman who worked through some Reiki healing. And it's a form of energy. And how I think of it is that we are all energetic beings, right? And our thought creates our words. Our words have energy, either positive or negative, love or light, um, light or darkness within ourselves, right? So what we say has either positive or negative energy. And when I think about that work and doing energy work, so whether it's, energy from a higher source that's working through us to heal, I believe that a lot of our beliefs and a lot of our conditionings on a subconscious level, so that other part that is within us is imprinted in there. And doing that energy work can help release those patterns, those limitations, those beliefs that are not supporting us, that's blocking the way from us from living in our highest self, right? It's our soul's desire is to love. Like to love is so important, and to speak love, to be in love, to feel love. And yet there's the darkness over here that is trying to stop us from being in that state of love.
Mm.
So, I energy work, it feels so vast. However, it has its place in doing that healing. It's like yoga. When you go through yoga, you have your chakras, your energy centers within your body. As you connect to breath, that's union between the mind, the body, and the spirit. As you go through and you do the postures, it starts to move you into alignment, move you into balance. When you move into balance, you're moving away from being out of balance, out of alignment. The chakras have an imbalance when we have negative patterns or beliefs that are within them that we need to transcend, or understand or move through, coming more into a open, loving space. Does that like make
Hmm.
sense?
Yeah, well, yes, I have very little knowledge and experience with energy work and chakras. I mean, my a lot of my background and my research has taken me through behavior, very behavioral kind of techniques and information, self-help kind of background books, etc. And also my training is in consulting, so it's very much the academic kind of aspect of
Yeah.
behavior. So chakras and energy healing are things that I wasn't exposed to, and I didn't expose myself to yet,
Yeah.
because I do find it very, very interesting and intriguing. Um, could you give a little bit about the chakras, because that is something that I'm quite interested in. I mean, I don't know how much.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, goodness. Um, so we have 7 chakras, which are energy centers within the body.
mhm.
And, when we have, for example, I had in my root chakra, there were imbalances, and a lot of those imbalances came from my family life, like how I grew up. I was born to a mother who was 17, placed up for adoption twice, like when I was first born, and then having my dad, and there was sexual abuse and trauma. So in my chakra, I had a lot of imbalances, and it's a lot around family. So in doing the work that I did, so here's this energy center within the body. And if when you start reading about it, like it'll become clearer. So there's our root chakra and our sacral chakra, and our solar plexus. So it moves up our heart chakra, our throat chakra, our third eye, our crown chakra. So being imbalanced allows you to receive energy, receive information from the higher power, from your higher self, from intuition, right? When you have blocks or leakages or imbalances in your energy system due to life's experiences, traumas, like for example, um, when there's a blockage in your root chakra, there could be money issues in your life, or and as you start working through and healing it, it becomes more open. I'll go to the throat chakra, for example. If there was a blockage in there and you didn't feel you could speak your truth, for some reason you were told, your emotions, what your emotions doesn't matter, or you couldn't speak your truth freely. There may be something in your life that blocked you from being able to speak freely. When your chakra in your throat becomes open, you can speak your truth freely because you know it's safe to be you. In your
Hmm.
heart chakra, maybe there's walls that prevents you from being open and loving, walls that were, experiences that happened again, like as you were growing up, and having those blockages prevents you from loving and receiving, giving and receiving openly, right? You think of to be in love is to be in a state or energetic flow, which is open, and you can openly give of your gifts and receive.
Hmm.
So there's a lot there's a lot to it. It's, when you start going through, and each chakra has a different representation. Like in our solar plexus, it's our creativity center. So how creative are we within our lives? And the more I did my work in my journey of self-healing and growing and knowing my truth and practicing yoga, like all these tools help me to heal, help me to come into alignment, help me to then open up to my higher self, my intuition, and um, lead from a place of service, from a place of love, to inspire, to heal. So it opens up those channels, those pathways. And it's amazing to think about, like, our bodies, our mate, like, we're amazing. We're so
Mhm.
valuable. Some of the things
I
when I
can't get my head around nature and around
yeah,
the body. Like we don't even understand how the mind works completely. Like we don't. It's yeah. Don't even get me
yeah,
started on that because I'll just start having a rant about how crazy our bodies are. Like it's
right?
insane.
We're so amazing and we're so valuable. And
I'm
I
creating
work,
a life right now in my belly. And
right?
it's just, it's just happening without me having to intervene. I'm creating a human right now. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
right,
I
right.
can't get over that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's like when I work in the realm of money. Money is emotional, and it has so many emotional triggers for us. And I it can teach us about how free we really are. And a lot of the times we put way more value on money than we do ourselves. And we are priceless. Like, we are so valuable, we are so worthy, but yet we'll look at our bank account perhaps and feel judgment and blame and criticism. And what state does that put us in, right? Fear, shame, blame, guilt, judgment, right? That's
100%.
that's an imbalance. We want to work through that. We want to come more into empowerment,
I was actually
joy.
going to ask you, how did you get into money? Like, what was the journey into helping people with their finances?
It's interesting, right? Because my background was yoga, and I divorced in 11 years ago. So I went through a divorce, and it became so important to me as a woman to have my own financial independence. It was so important. And I after going through a divorce, I started to seek help, right? I went to an advisor, I got my life insurance and things like that in place. I have 3 daughters, so that was very important to me. And throughout my journey, I worked some administrative jobs and taught yoga, but I knew I wanted to work with people and, like, advising. Like, I felt like that's where I should be. I should be working with people. And I ended up getting a job at a bank. So the bank trained me, and I love what I did in working with the bank. So now I'm working in finances. I'm learning how to do credit and lending and talking about finances and financial goals and how to manage your money. And while I was working at the bank, I had a pension and I had savings. And however, I never felt that it was enough. I never had enough. I left the bank. I started a career on my own. I started a new career, became self employed, and started to sell life insurance. So throughout this journey, being an entrepreneur is a spiritual journey, if you can believe that. It
Hmm.
can teach you so much about yourself.
Yep.
And I was sitting on I was sitting on a panelist of women, and we were talking about money. And a lady said, money is energy. And it was like this, it went straight to my core. And I'm like, wait a minute. I understand energy. I understand energy. I said, but my relationship with money is not where I want it to be. So I started to go in and I started to dig deeper. I immediately, like, okay, there's something here. And I delved in and delved in, did some homework, took some courses, delved into my money story. And as I answered the questions, I realized that I had a common theme, and it was I was not enough. There was
Not
never
worthy.
enough. Yeah. And I'm like, holy cow, like I thought I arrived and healed myself. Like I thought I was whole and complete. And now I had a whole nother lesson to learn. And then to really be challenged, like going through the entrepreneurial journey about what it has to teach you, it dug deeper into how I valued myself, the belief that I had in myself, like the disbelief that I had in myself, the the lack of trust. And when I arrived, it's like a whole journey that I went through. Honestly, I'll have a book about it.
Good.
um, but I arrived at a place where I looked at my life, and I looked at my life and what I created, and like this healthy, happy me, fulfilling that desire of happiness and loving myself. Having a partner that came into my life that I share my life with, that I love and is a healthy, happy, passionate relationship, which was another desire. Another desire that I had was financial freedom. And here I was starting to discover, what is financial freedom? Financial freedom is when we let go of the shame, the blame, the judgment, the guilt, the liabilities that hold us back, right? I started to see that the value of us on a soul level, the value of who we are. And I started to recognize that. And I started to, like, how could I not believe that there is something working through me when it's been working through me for so long? And look at how my life has changed when I started to follow it and listen to me. And it just opened my eyes up to a greater truth within myself, the discovery of my value, of my worth on a whole nother level. And I look at, you think about what we're worth. Like, if I were to ask you today, Emily, to sell me your eyes for $1 million, two of them, would you? How about your heart, your organs, your brain, your body? Like, when one of my favorite things to teach is your enlightened net worth, and that's like what you are worth. So let's talk about, what's your liabilities. Your liabilities are your disbelief in yourself, your judgments, your shame, your blame, your guilt, that darkness that wants to keep you out of balance, out of alignment, that wants to keep you from stepping into your light, from serving from a place of love, from being an open vessel so that source can work through you, give your gifts, your talents in the world.
Mm-hmm. 100%. You do not understand how much this resonates because I'm working on my money mindset and my money story, and we I really do. Um, I've recently discovered how much of a relationship we have with money, just as much as we have a relationship with people. We interact with people, we have certain beliefs and conditionings and projections and whatever, with people. And I do believe that the most important relationship is the one that you have with yourself, and you should
Yeah.
work on the relationship with yourself, and that will have a knock-on effect on all your relationships. But then suddenly it comes to money and you realize that there's so much going on there as well. Like it's this whole other thing. And now and shame, by the way, shame is a huge emotion. It's like debilitating. Um and the I've realized I have a lot of shame in my money story,
Mhm.
and working through that is really hard. Like it's really hard to work through these emotions and through these
Yeah.
different things, and realizing how many limiting beliefs we have, and the emotions that we do have tied to money is
Mm.
it's big.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's very, very important work I think that you're doing as well. But I really do think that it's fascinating how much of our mindset or perspective and feelings that we have around it are so either limiting or liberating, like they really have a huge impact.
Yeah.
Um, and they also tie back to relationships that we have in childhood. And, like it's very emotional, very, very emotional, and it's all connected.
Yeah.
And the same way that I found it incredible how much our body is connected to the mind and to the emotions and to the, as you were saying with the chakras, like it's stored in the body, the emotions, it's energy in motion, right? Emotion, and our body stores this energy if we don't process it and find ways to to work through it and release it. And then that's why I think you talk about balancing and aligning, and when you really learn to process and regulate the emotions as well. But yeah, no, okay, so that really makes sense how
Yeah.
you ended up getting into the money.
Yeah.
Because it really, really is, it's all connected, it really is.
Yeah, isn't it? I find
Crazy
it
how connected
so
it is.
fascinating that, yeah, it is all connected. And relationships are here to teach us who we are. Years ago, I read a book by Debbie Ford, and it was the dark side of the light chasers. And what it taught us is her message that I picked up from it years ago was that relationships, when we're triggered by the actions of someone else, it's really about ourselves. Excuse me. It's really about ourselves, and it's like recognizing the qualities within ourselves, right? When someone makes us upset or really triggers us, it's like look within and see where I'm not owning that quality within ourselves. And so with money, exactly, it's the same thing. We do have a relationship with it. We all have a story with it. You think of even generations, right? As I work with women, so many women struggle with charging for their services, um, giving away a lot of their energy for free because they're just uncomfortable with asking. They don't see their value, they don't see their worth, right? And sometimes, in a recent conversation with a woman, she said, "Money is very masculine, and ambition is masculine." And I'm like, interesting, right? Because as a woman, I deal with archetypes when it comes to money, and a part of my archetype is I have a very strong desire to achieve. And I mean, that you could see that was been a driving force in a lot of my life, right? That desire to achieve, that's ambition. I'm a very feminine woman. I have, we're feminine and masculine, but I'm very feminine, and I have a desire, like, money is energy. So the thought of, was there a belief in her to think that money is masculine energy, but men were more dominant over the years in making money and being the main breadwinners within the family, right? And the woman wasn't. But it's interesting perception of it, right? So money can be both masculine and it's energy. It's energy, that
As
source.
far as I understand that the feminine energy is more nurturing, but money can be very nurturing as well. It can be very, giving and nurturing. So it definitely is. It's a very interesting take that, but it then just shows as well how your belief about societal, or gender kind of stereotypes can impact your relationship with money as well. Like it's very much your
Yeah,
mindset, your paradigm, your everything is really connected.
yeah,
um there's one thing that I remember with that recently came up. Sham, she's a money mindset coach, and she's in the group. And she mentioned about how there's that belief, rich people get richer. Rich people, the people that have money, they just keep making more money generally, very generalized kind of speaking. But it's true. It's because they believe that they can. They know, they've made money. They believe they can make money, and it's a very much it's a belief about whether you can, whether you deserve it.
yeah,
And so once you've made your money, and I'm talking very generalized, yeah,
yeah,
but like once you made some money, then you believe you can make more, and then you make more.
Yeah.
I think it really is what you believe. How
Yeah.
you think about it.
Yeah. You're right. Your channels are open to that, and you
Yeah.
think of, you shared a bit of your story and how I grew up. So my beliefs was I wasn't lovable. There was something wrong with me. I didn't have a healthy self-esteem. I was shy. I was insecure. I was used. I was abused sexually. Like all these things happened to me. So those were my beliefs. So what happened in my environment, right? Drugs and alcohol and sexual abuse, because that was my
That's
inner
what you
belief.
believed you
Yeah,
deserved, or was your reality, or yeah.
absolutely. And as I started to, shift my perspective, and I started to heal and transcend from those limiting beliefs, those walls,
Yeah.
and I started to open, and I started to love myself. I started to love myself, and I started to exercise and eat healthy, and let go of drugs and alcohol, and like, and as those things change, what happened in my life? I found, I had happiness, a healthy,
You
happy
reflect
relationship.
outwards.
Yep. Divorced from an unhealthy relationship, entered into a new relationship that was healthy, passionate, and loving. I'm like, I would have never met this guy right now that I share my life with. I would have never met him had I not did my own inner work, right? So
Hmm.
the same thing with money is like we all have the story, and you think about how did you grow up, right? What was your parent? Was the money a source of joy? Was there conflict between parents? At one time, money it was just survival. Or you think of back in the day, status. If you had more sheep than me, you were wealthier than me. But on a soul level, is that true? Like, we are all valuable, but yet we started to give more precedence or more value to money and to people who had it. And the only thing that keep people from not having it is the beliefs that are not supporting them. So the beliefs that came from their family, their generation, right? I could have went down a path of drug addiction, alcohol addiction, continued on a path of sexual traumas if I had not changed my life. So you look at generation after generation, people will either stay the same or they will change, and they will go to work and
Cycle
change.
breakers.
Yeah.
Generational trauma and cycle breakers. And the thing is, it's amazing how money is the same. Like, it's the same thing.
Yes.
I One of the things with this money mindset coach Sham that I've been in touch with is that it really is the hold on, lost my track of thought. Pregnancy brain.
Yeah.
With generation. So the way we approach shifting or healing our relationship with money, it can be applied to any relationship. And that's what I find so fascinating. It's, as you say, that,
Mhm.
how did your parents uh treat money, talk about money, have what was their relationship like with money, everything to do, with your history and your past. Same thing with any other aspect of your life. If it was, how did they um it could be anything. How did they communicate? How did they communicate with each other? How did they communicate to you? Okay, so
Yeah.
that can help you heal with your communication issues in your relationship. It's just one other relationship, one other aspect, and I just find it fascinating. I never looked at money like that before.
Yeah.
Um, and it's been a very interesting journey. But
Absolutely.
Janet, I'm gonna stop us here because I could speak to you forever. But thank you for
Mm.
sharing
You're
your time
welcome.
and your story. And I think you're fabulous. And if you please send me all of your relevant links, I will put them in the description.
Mm.
And thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. I'm honored. I'm honored. Thank you.
I'm honored. Thank you, Janet.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.